As you say, there are a number of free trade deals that are being negotiated at the moment, and the primary concern for Unison as a public service trade union is the potential fact that public services, core public services such as health, social services, education, will be included in these agreements. And that means that we will see the further entrenching of the neoliberal model of liberalisation and privatisation of public services.
And give us an example of what that could mean for, say, health services in the UK.
Okay, the challenge for the National Health Service in the UK, we have a national health service, 60 years of public provision of health care. Our own government has recently allowed the private sector to start competing for contracts within the National Health Service. So we have already liberalised the health market in the UK. The concern for us is that with the TTIP agreement with the US or the TISA agreement, which is a global agreement, we won't be able to reverse that decision in the future. That actually the privatisation and outsourcing of our national health service will be irreversible. We know that in the TISA agreement there is a ratchet clause that will actually prevent bringing the health service back into the public sector. The danger with the TTIP agreement is the threat that the investor-state dispute settlement mechanism poses, because big American healthcare corporations, which are already beginning to move into the British market, will be able to challenge any decision by an incoming government to bring the health system back into the public sector. And they will be able to challenge that in private, secret trade courts, not going through the British domestic court system with a right to appeal and established rules of law, but private courts with no established rules of law, no ability to appeal against them, with huge fines that could be imposed on the British government. And we're not scaremongering on this. We know there is evidence already in the healthcare sector. In 2006, in Slovakia, a new government sought to bring the public health the health insurance system back into the public sector, and they were challenged in the courts using ISDS by a Dutch private health insurance company, and they were forced to pay huge amounts of compensation to that company. But what's worse, that Dutch private insurance company is now actually challenging not just the decision of the Slovak government, but the very right of the Slovak government to take that kind of decision. And that's the danger that we see of ISDS being in the TTIP agreement.
What do we need to do as trade unionists?
The most important thing is we need to communicate to our members. Many of our members see trade agreements as being remote. They're negotiated in Brussels or Washington or globally. They're not negotiated by our own national government. There's very little media coverage of trade agreements either. But we've been able to start talking to our members about the dangers of TTIP because it is directly relevant to what they see is already happening in our National Health Service. Because they already see contracts going to the private sector, where they see the loss of jobs, they see outsourcing taking place. We can explain to them that we won't be able to reverse that if these trade agreements actually go through. So we have to find ways to communicate with real daily stories that our members can understand. And I know that's hard, but if you look at the key issues in all of these agreements, whether it's the TISA agreement or TTIP or the Canada agreement, for public sector workers across the board, not just in the health sector, but for all sectors of public health, or for public services, there are real issues that we can communicate with our members. The second thing we started to do in Unison is work with NGOs. There has always been a strong NGO movement around trade agreements because of the impact on the developing world. And they've often led the campaigns with the trade unions coming behind. This time we've noticed with TTIP that it's the trade union movement in the UK that is actually leading the campaign against TTIP. But the NGO sector are with us, and they are campaigning with us, and we are campaigning very effectively, working together with them through the trade justice movement in the UK, and I know there are similar organisations in other countries where we can actually mobilise beyond our own members to talk to service users as well about the threat to those services that they value and that they use.